Okay. All right. So the plan for me today is to kind of go through general stuff on play calling, which is to me is one of the hardest things to do in a game. I think it's an art for sure, and it's something I've screwed up on multiple times, and sometimes got bailed out because I had good players, and sometimes I called a great play and we dropped it. So it's not always perfect, but our goal, I think, as coaches, is to give our kids the best chance to succeed. So that's what we'll be talking about today is, all the work that goes in beforehand. And then of course, when it hits, what's your system to go through? And I'm going to try my best to make this apply to any system. Of course, I'm going to speak mainly to the terminology that I use, which will be coming out of my own system, but hopefully there'll be stuff you can pull out, whether you're running my system or whatever you want to run. Contact information is there, guys, if you're interested. If we're going to go through for probably about 45 minutes, 30, 45 minutes, kind of in that range. And then I'll take any questions you have. But if you're like me, probably when we get done, you're going to think of 30. And I want to give you all the chance to shoot them to me. My time is going to get more limited as we move towards the season. But if you shoot me an email or a text or whatever, I do my best to try to get back to those either in the evenings or I get up early in the morning to try to answer that kind of stuff. This stuff is coming directly out of my system, which is the Gun TRPO. But I'm going to try to make as much of this apply to whatever system you may run. So it'd be what we do, but I think it can apply to what anyone else does too, I hope. Okay, so I just call it Play Calling 101. So the first part of this is actually partially a presentation I did earlier on building a play sheet. So that's going to be the first 15 minutes or so. We're going to walk through how to build the play sheet, all the stuff you do before. And then the second part of the presentation will be, okay, now we're in the game. How does all this look? And I try to include some game clips. I've actually pulled up one of our games where we our opening script to kind of show some examples, and I'll walk through a little bit of that as well. Okay, so here's a couple tips that I would give you guys as you're calling plays. Number one is to do as much as you can before you actually get to the Friday night game. Script as much as you can and go through as many different things as you can before you actually get into the game. You have to make adjustments and be flexible and adaptable inside of a game, but you want to have a pretty clear plan walking in. So here's some things that we do when we're looking at opponents, as we're building in our plan on that's like the Sunday evening, okay, before we get into the week of practice to get to Friday night. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at any checks we need to make that they might make to us. So go back and look at all of their film. How do they handle twins? How do they handle trips? Are they always going man-to-man on a single? What are the things they're doing that we like? Okay, what are the things they're doing that we maybe don't like? Then we're going to look at who are the guys we want to go after. And that can be guys that maybe aren't as talented or guys that are maybe very, very aggressive that we can use that against them. We look at what are we going to do on the goal line and when do they decide to go to a goal line defense. So when do we need to, as we're calling plays, is it the 20-yard line or the 15 or the 10 where we need to kind of go to our goal line package, which may be a lot of our base plays, but there's certain plays we like as we get closer to the goal line. When does that happen? And so we kind of build that into our little play sheet. And I'm going to show an example of our play sheet as I get to that. Obvious ones are who to go after and who to avoid. I would think that's obvious, but here's what I have noticed. As we get into all the little sheets you can print off, you can get a massive amount of information. And sometimes, you lose the forest for the trees and you don't realize we're trying to go after their players with our best player. That's the number one goal, in my opinion, as an OC, is to get your best guy on their worst guy. And that's, if you do that, you've given your kids a chance to win. Then what do you think they're going to key? Are they going to key linemen? Are they keying a certain receiver? Are they a zone team? Are they a man team? What are they keying that you think? Now you're going to have to confirm this in the first drive, but on film a lot of times you can see, the defensive linemen, are they reading the block? Or are they just shooting upfield and looking in the backfield? Same thing with the linebackers. how do they handle other teams' misdirection? Okay, are they handling it well or not handling it well? If they're not handling it well, they're probably key in the backfield. If they are handling it well, they're probably key in something else. Okay, and then can you have tendency breakers? You know your offense. We know ours. We know that if we pull that strong guard, that's a pretty good tendency. So what can I do with that to maybe break that tendency? And this basically is our coaching checklist. We're going to go through this as we're building in our own game plan. I'm going to move through this stuff relatively quickly because it's all about beforehand, and I want to show you our actual deal. And then our offensive line, as we're building in, do we need to shrink our splits? Do we need to widen our splits? Are they going to be a gap shooter and movement, or are they going to be pretty much a 3 and a 5 technique, or whatever they're going to do? So we can kind of move our guys around to take advantage of that. Quarterbacks, these things we're looking for our quarterbacks, and we want him to know these things. All right, who are we trying to avoid? And then how are they playing? Usually when you watch DBs, they may change, they may change a coverage against you, but they're not going to change the personnel. So you can tell, all right, hey, number 31 is super aggressive. So that's the guy we're going to go after for double moves or big plays. And number 27, or whatever it is, he's always playing off. He's trying to bait you into throwing deep. So we're going to take the underneath with him. Okay. Same thing on the linebackers and defensive line. We're a big RPO team. So we can give our guy a rough idea. Hey, we really think that defensive lineman is going to shoot down the heel line, and we could pull it. Okay. Or that linebacker is very aggressive, or hey, he's more of a reader, so we're probably going to hand it off. It's not a guarantee, but it gives them an idea walking into the game what we think we're going to do. And it helps you as you're building your plays to know who you want to take advantage of. Because you're calling RPOs, if you're like me, it's fun to let them just completely read it, but most of the time I have what I want him to do. If I want him to hand it off, I call an RPO against a reader, a guy who's probably going to sit home. I know I'm going to hand it off. If I want him to pull it, I'm going to call it against a really aggressive defender. So I'm going to target that guy to take advantage of him. Receivers, technique of DBs, that's not going to change. And as a play caller, that allows you to know, okay, this is where we maybe want to throw the ball on the right side of the field, take the easies. On the left side of the field, they're real aggressive. That's where we're taking our shots. So you kind of know that going into the game. Tight ends and wings for us is the same as the offensive lineman. And then this is basically how I've done things. I think some of y'all might have heard this before. Our 80-20 rule pretty much means if they're doing something 80% of the time, now we're going to start building in automatics and talking to our kids. If it's 70% of the time, that's still pretty good percentage. We're probably going to build in some game plan stuff to take advantage of stuff like that. If it's 60%, I might want to make a note of it on my sheet, but I'm probably not going to do a ton game plan wise because that can change. The big statement that I know as far as when you're doing a game plan is make sure your kids know as much as they can. You can have your sheet over here all you want, and you're calling plays. You're not the one running the plays. So your guys got to kind of know, here's why we think this will work in a game. If it doesn't work, here's what we're going to adjust. Okay. And then we try to find those athletes for us that are one-way guys, and we give them more of the game plan. For us, that's our quarterback and generally a couple offensive linemen. So they're going to get a little more of behind the scenes what we're trying to do. Okay. Game plan for our players. Okay. I'm going to go through this quickly because I think I did a whole session on game plan. But basically, our game plan is helping us build our play sheet and helping us build our play calling, because that lets us know, kind of what we think of the defense, and it gets you in the right mindset as you're working that week to call your plays. And this is the things we stress to our kids. We're going to make sure that they have specific areas, and we're going to try to shrink the game for them. We're going to try to meet one-on-one with the guys that need to know certain things. And a lot of times our quarterback is going to know not only here's our script and our plays, but here's kind of what we think we're going to go to if this stuff doesn't work. Okay, here's kind of our fallback. We're going to give him a little bit more. And a big deal when you're building a play sheet, or when you're starting to get ready to call plays, is remember, get the ball to your best players. Above anything else you can do, make sure that guy touches the ball. There's been some terrible play calls I've had where I gave the ball to my best player and he made me look good. And there's been some great play calls I've had that went to our backup who dropped it. Well, I mean, that's kind of on me. Okay, so here's some things we're going to put in our call sheet, and I think the next thing over is actually going to be a call sheet. And then I'm going to kind of walk you through how we do some scripting things, and then we'll move into actually in the game calling plays, things you need to know. So directly from the game, but guys, don't hesitate to stop me too. I know I'm moving kind of quickly. If you got a question, hit it in the chat, and I will leave time at the end to handle other questions also. But if I'm running through something you want to know more of, shoot a question in there, okay? Directly from the game plan, these are things we're going to put on the play call sheet. I think let me go back over. This is what our play call sheet looks like. We're going to get to this, but I wanted to show kind of how we build that. So first we're going to do a script, and inside that script, I'm actually going to walk through a whole deal of stuff we try to do during our script. The script is extremely important to me. I'm different, I think, than other coaches as far as I don't script like we're going to run exactly this play all the time. A lot of times I'll put a set and give myself two options because I'm going to look at what they're doing. But what I do try to do in the script is get as much information to me and my coaches and our players as possible. And I'll walk through that here in a little bit. We want to have third down calls, fourth down calls, and those can be different. Okay, let me give you an example. If you know you're going to go for it on fourth down, then 3rd and 7 looks different. And here's what I'm talking about. This is 3rd and 7, okay? We probably were not going to go for it here, but I'm a pretty aggressive dude. If it was 4th and 1, yeah, we probably would have gone for it. This team wanted to get conservative, so our 3rd and 7 call turned to be what I would consider a very conservative counter. Okay? We ran a counter because they were playing 4 deep, and I figured, man, if I get 5 yards, I may go for it. But we got the first down off it. Well, that's a 3rd down play call knowing I have another down. I would never have called this on 4th and 7, okay? Like 4th and 7, this is not a play call I'm going to make because that's not a great play call on 4th and 7. 3rd and 7 where, hey, we get 5-6 yards, we may go for it here. That's not a bad play call. So just kind of giving you an idea as you're building your system, there is a difference in 3rd down calls where you know we're going to punt after this, and in 3rd down calls where you know, hey, we may go for this. So just get us kind of close. 4th down calls are their own separate entity, and we coach that differently with our quarterbacks because I tell them we don't count interceptions, we don't count fumbles. 4th down, man, you let it rip and give it a chance. What we don't want to do on 4th down is eat the ball and never give ourselves a chance to make a play. Red zone. You know, what are you going to do in the red zone? I already mentioned, when does that start for you? That starts for you probably when they change. Not so much when you change, but when they change defenses. So that may be different. Backed up. If you're backed up, what are you going to do? And then when do you want to take shots? And who do you want to take shots at? And where do you want to take those shots? So all that's going to get built into your play sheet. I'm going to get to that in a little bit. Gimmicks. I was a big gimmick person for several years, and we still will run them. Last year we weren't able to run as many just because of personnel issues. But I'm all for gimmicks. If you got a little shot play you can take, I mean, one time you take a shot and you get a touchdown, those are pretty awesome. When are you going to take them? How are you going to take them? What teams you want to take them against? Formations that we like for the week, okay? What I've found is in the script, I'm going to do a bunch. Of course, we're going to script out what we want to do, but I may get in there at halftime and, man, we were supposed to be running a lot of tight end trips because we liked whatever it was, and I got into the heat of the game and didn't get back to it. So make sure you put the kind of little section there on formations you want to run. 2-minute, 4-minute offense, and then I do a notes section on mine. Okay. Then other things I want to include on there are kind of every game things. So we have a whole section that's very specific to who we're playing, and then we have a section that's we walk into a game, and we see this a lot. It's completely different than what we plan for, because we run a different looking offense. And so we have a man zero game plan. There's about 10 plays in there that we know we really like against man zero. And I'm going to go through a couple of those. We're going to talk about calling plays. A lot of that for us turns into motions and shifts. So I'm going to hit that here at the end. what about our backup quarterback? Well, what does our game plan go to when that happens? And then we're going to have some other deals over here where, hey, if they give us, a 4 front instead of a 3 front, we've got certain plays we like. I've coached long enough, I don't have to put it on the sheet anymore. But if you're kind of new, that's something I would put on there. Timesheet, PAT, chart, all that other stuff. And then I put a middle section, okay, where I want to make sure, let me go here real quickly. I'll come back to that. Middle section right there down the middle, where I know how to get the ball to a position or to a player. Okay. And then we go back here and then we do like red zone plays, heavy set plays. For us, I've done a whole session on heavy, so I'm not going to go into a ton on it, but we know this is our kind of different personnel package. So I've got that on the sheet of what we can run out of this set and when do we want to go to that? How often do we want to go to it? And so been a good set for us. We just call it heavy, but you probably have maybe your own flavor of that. When do you want to use it? Okay. Now, I'll walk through the play sheet here real quickly, and then we're going to get into the second half of this, which is going to be talking about now you're in the game. So all this stuff to me is done before you walk into a game. The second half of this is going to be stuff you do while you're in the game. So over there on the left, if you're looking at it, is drive starters. So these are plays that we want to run to start off a drive. Now I'll just hit a few of these. If you got questions about specific ones, we can maybe hit them at the Q&A, or you can shoot me an email later or whatever, and I'll go through them. But for us that year, sword was our belly. So we wanted to run a trips and run sword, which is strong belly for us, and the peak over to our B, who is the inside receiver of trips. That was a play we really liked to start a drive. Arrow, which to us was jet, okay, and then joker, which is where we're pulling the guards opposite. So we wanted to start off some drives to seeing how are they going to handle it if we pull our guards the other way, okay? Then we always come up with kind of a special set possibly for a team. We just called it Bulldog. That week, that was like a quads overlook that we really liked against that team we were playing, okay? Then you can see as you walk down over there, I've got second, and I call it shots. That's when I wanted to take my chances. That's when we were going to take our shots, was second and that week we said 2nd and 3. First time we get 2nd and 3, we're going to take a shot. Next time we get 2nd and 3, we're going to take another shot. And so these were our shot plays when we got short yardage on 2nd down. Then 3rd and longs, 3rd and shorts, 3rd and mediums, and then our 4th downs. Okay, and I believe this actually is a bigger sheet. I don't know if I can scroll down and look at all of it, but it's got our 4th and longs down below there also. And then over, it's got our 2-minute drills. We're working across. We've got the 2-minute drill. Plays we want to run for 2-minute drill. Fish is flood, to give you kind of an idea on that. Then the plays we want to run. Screen game. We run screens. Here's kind of where those go. Red zone plays. Here's the plays we want to run in the red zone. 2-point plays. Shot plays, okay? Then that middle section, like I talked about, was here's our plays that get the ball to our best players. I just did by position. Then Landon was our backup quarterback. If he goes in at quarterback, here's kind of where our game plan goes. And then I've got a false key play over there. So false keys, things that we can do to take advantage of them. Then over to the right, I'm about to walk through play script stuff. This is how we built our play script. And then I put down plays to run. Now, we didn't go boom, 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 boom in order. I just knew these were the plays I wanted to run if I was in a normal down and distance. So 1st and 10, a 2nd and kind of medium-ish. Okay, these are the plays we want to run. So I wanted to hit these plays instead of the first 2 or 3 drives. And inside of that, if you'll look, I've got like 3 different personnel groups in there. I've got an over set, I've got a trip set, I've got a normal set. Okay, we've got strong side runs, quick side runs. We've got all of it in there because I'm just trying to gather information. One of the things that I've learned to do is script your second half plays, because here's what I learned as a young play caller. I kind of shot everything out there right at the beginning of the game, and in the second half, I was like, well, there went all our specials. So I try to save a few things that we're possibly setting up to come out with in the second half. Doesn't mean we won't run them in the first half, but I try to put them down there knowing Hey, these are things I want to save and come back to. And then I give myself a whole note section, that whole note section that tells me everything that's going on with what I might be seeing. Okay. I'm going to take just a second here, let y'all ask any questions you may want to ask, and then I'm going to start walking through, okay, now we're inside of a game. Here's some things that I try to do that maybe can help you. So any questions you got, guys, we got a small enough group, you might be able to even unmute yourself and ask, or just ask it in the chat, whatever you're more comfortable with. And then I'm going to move into the next part of this. Okay. How many plays? For us, we bring our entire offensive system into a game. Now, that being said, we're obviously going to focus on certain looks that we like. So let me give you kind of an example. We know we're going to run buck against anybody. Okay. Well, we probably are going to rep buck with maybe these 2 or 3 RPOs that we think are going to work, but we're always on Wednesday for us. That's a practice day that we're going to kind of do all right, basic game plan of anything we might see. So we're going to make sure we touch on every play and have the ability to tag. And I'm going to kind of walk through some of that stuff. But really, I'm a rule of 3 guy. So we have 3 strong runs, 3 quick runs, and 3 rollout passes, 3 of whatever it is. So for us, we can carry our whole offense into a game, but we do have kind of a selection menu of here's what we think we're going to like. I hope that answers. I talked with Coach Kohu over at Little Rock Christian, one of my favorite guys, and he talks about it as a menu. Like, you got the whole menu, but you probably are going to pick off of this section for that game. So that's kind of how we look at it. All right, I'm going to roll through. And again, guys, anytime you get a question, shoot it in there. Goals for opening script. So opening script of a game, here's what I'm trying to do. And I've actually got a little huddle clip where I'll pull up and kind of show you a few things. I think I've got time to do that. All right, so opening script, I want to see where their eyes are going. That's the first thing I want to see. Where are their eyes going? Who are they keying? So for us, that means we're going to use motions, different sets, play actions, screens, and any false keys we may have. So if we want to confirm are they keying a guard, at some point in that first drive or 2, we're going to run a false pull. Okay, that might be a play action or an RPO in our mind, but we're going to be able to see what that linebacker is doing and what the defensive linemen are doing. Okay, we're going to see where their eyes are, their DBs. And then we're going to confirm alignment guesses. Okay, so we think they're going to line up like this with these players here. Well, we're going to confirm that by running a lot of sets and seeing, okay, no, they're following our tight end with this guy, or they're following, our receiver with that guy. Okay, and then we're looking for matchups. What's a problem for us, and where are the advantages? Obviously, we're hoping for advantages, but you also need to figure out where's the not so great advantages against you. Then have some answers to maybe fix those. I think I've got one more here. So here's kind of an example. We roll out in a game and get looks like this. Let me go back. Sorry. Pause it. We roll out in games, and this is the kind of looks that we get sometimes. We didn't practice for that. I mean, who practices for that? It's like a 7-2. No one practices for that. So, we're going to roll out that first drive and figure out what are they doing. So then we go to our built-in answers. I'm going to hit that here in a section. When we get something like this, we got to have stuff built into our system to see what they're doing. And so we're trying to figure out in this, all right, clearly he's got him and he's got him. Well, who's got the wing? Who's got the tight end? Who's got the running back? So what's a play we can run that's a safe play to kind of figure all of that out? Well, for us, that was our double handoff with a shuffle. So we shuffle it and we see really quickly who's looking where. Okay, one, we figure out nobody's reading the guard because nobody goes with them. We figure out one of these 2 guys back here is reading the running back because he flies with the running back. And then one of them, this guy, I believe, is reading the tight end. Oh, I'm sorry, the guy head up the tight end is staying with the tight end because he stays there. So he's got to be covering him. And we figure out real quickly, all right, well, I think that guy who's chasing my wing, I think this guy has my wing in man-to-man. Great, because we score on this play. That's awesome. But what's better is I gain the information of who has who. So now if I want to throw the ball, I can figure out, okay, he's got him and he's got him and he's got him. Well, now we know the plays we want to use. So that's kind of an example of it. Okay, opening script. We're also going to script our second half or part of it, and we'll do that a lot of times at halftime. So we'll go in at halftime. I've got plays I want to run, and then we'll circle. All right, we want to hit this play, and this play to confirm what we've seen, okay, and take advantage of what we already know. Then you want to leave places to run plays, even if not sequential order. What that means to me is we know we want to hit these 3 or 4 plays, and we might want to hit them in this order. So on my script, I might not go 1, 2, 3, 4. I might go 1, 4, 2, 3. I just know I'm going to come back to those. Don't forget to get the ball to your guys early. Get the ball to your best players early. And then we do a ton early on of what we call freeze, which is basically a dummy count. Walk up there is dead, and we're going to freeze and then look over. And then I've got a list of 2 or 3 plays I want to call off of that. Okay, I'm going to exit the share here and pull up Huddle, which where'd it go? I know I got Huddle on here somewhere. Hang on. I think this is it. Okay, all right. Let's zoom first, but I have Huddle on here. I'm going to show you a real quick example of what I'm talking about when we're talking about scripting plays. Now, you got to give me a little help here because this is number 1 in the state. And I think right at that point, we might have been number 8. So we were a pretty good year for me, really good year for them. That dude signed with the Razorbacks. That dude signed with the Razorbacks. And they got another guy back here who signed with somebody. So problems. So we come out first play, run a dummy count. Okay. Come out like this and run a dummy count. Now, this dude is playing a 3 technique for the University of Arkansas. Okay. That guy was my quarterback the next year. So that's a problem. Okay. He hadn't lined up there ever. But against us, that was their adjustment. So we run freeze, and we really quickly realize, okay, we need to get our D2 tackle over here to at least see, hey, let's see, all right, can our guy play with this guy, or is D1 versus D2 too much? Well, the first play, unfortunately, we found out that that D2 and D1 is a difference, because here's my best guy, here's their best guy, we're going to run right at him. Well, we lost. Okay, that guy was an animal, and we figured out really quickly, all right, that's probably not something we want to do because that guy can take 2 gaps, all right? So now we're going to come back to the next play, and we're going to run a funky looking set. So I don't know if you can see this. I hope you can. That's my 280-pound tackle split out, and that guy's in a 3 technique about 9 yards outside. We thought he was going to line up into here. He didn't. For some reason, he lined up out there, but we went to a set of, okay, that doesn't work the first play. What about this? Now, let's come back and run buck, but let's run it from a flex look, okay? And now we got some space. He actually should have probably not blocked him there, but we ended up triple teaming that guy who's a stud. And you see what we get. Okay, we can't block him in here. Let's flex him out. And that's an answer that we've kind of built in. We wanted to see what they were going to do. So now we come back and go, all right, let's get in a base set. We don't want any part of this kid. So let's come back this way. That's my best receiver that year and who we thought was their weakest corner. So let's get my best receiver one-on-one on just an out route on their best, on their weakest corner. Okay, that worked. All right, we can do that. It's something we can go back to later that we know we can handle that. All right, now let's get a heavy look to see what they do. Are we going to have any success running heavy? And the answer was not very much. So we can get a first down right there, but not very much, okay? All right, then we come back with an empty look. Let's go empty with our best player back here and see what they do in the box. And now our best player's there. You can tell it's week 1 because he runs the wrong gap. We were not going to run to this guy because he's really good. We were trying to run quick side, and our guy runs the wrong way. But you see the idea as far as the play calling goes, all right? We're not going to go after that guy. We're going to try to run away from that guy if we can. So now we're going to come back to the quick side, run away from this guy, and we're going to run our best player on a post because they're spinning. I know you can't see it in the film, but they're spinning coverage when we give a little motion look. Here's their spin. we're going to post right over top of them, throw it over their head, catch it, and score a touchdown. Okay? It doesn't always work out that way, but I wanted you to kind of see, hey, here's what I'm trying to do in that first drive. So we score, which that's awesome, but the reality was we found out, get back to the sideline, go, okay, their 9 technique is a D1 player. So we need to have our adjustments to buck sweep if we want to run it, which we did. And we need to go back to the quick side sometimes. And we do have an advantage with our best receiver versus their weakest corner that we can come back to. So that's my goals of scripting. Second part I put in, if you had a chance to watch the YouTube stuff, is using motions and shifts. Why would you use motions or shifts? Okay, for us, this is kind of our man-to-man go-to for sure. So the teams in man-to-man, they can expect to see a lot of shifts and a lot of motions for us. That's the first thing we're looking for. That's kind of our answer to man-to-man. Second thing is we're trying to gain numbers advantages. So teams that might not be man-to-man, but if we motion and they don't really react much to it, or they react but not in a way that we think is going to matter, then we're going to run motions and shifts that way to gain numbers. Sometimes we can motion and they overreact, and so we'll come back to where they left from. And I'll show you a couple examples of that. We can run away from players. Like you saw the first play of the drive right there. We moved our guy over there. Nobody moved with them. So realized they weren't following our best player. They were following our tight end wing position. Sometimes people will line up their defensive linemen to follow our linemen. And so we want to be able to see, okay, what are they doing by alignment? Are they doing it by a person? And then we'll use motions and shifts to get what we want if it's by alignment, okay? Because a lot of times coaches understand my best skill player against your worst skill player, but what we've tried to do is put my best lineman against your worst lineman, because that creates a hole, okay? Pressure the defense to adjust. Pressure as much as you can to make them adjust. So teams that are in man or they're playing your tight end wing, really weird, if you motion over, well, now they got to spin, or you motion into it. They got to spin down, and what it does is it creates what I call new conflict players. So this guy was supposed to be playing hook to curl and this. When we were jet motion, he's going to blitz, and now another guy's got to come fill his spot. So now you've probably spent 2 or 3 days getting this guy ready, but when I motion, now this guy who probably didn't get hardly any reps, he's got to roll down and do something different. So we're creating new conflict players by motioning and shifting. Okay, here's an example. So man-to-man, we want to run motion. This team, by the way, won the state championship. Unfortunately, we couldn't knock them off that night. We're going to run motion because you're in man-to-man. Motion, we can tell you're in man-to-man, easy play for us. That's a nice, simple, quick, easy look. So you're in motion, or you're in man, we're going to run motion to get our guy away from man-to-man and create a natural rub and then touchdown. Okay? You can kind of see it's an easy play for us. But we're also going to run motion and watch you overreact. So this team was freaking out to motion. That's an inside linebacker right there. Freaking out to motion because they were so scared of all the rollout pass or all the QB run. So we ran motion to get them to do stuff like this, to run right back to where they left. We just call this draw, but run motion. We're going to come right back where they left. And all that is for us is strong belly. But with the motion, you see the hole it created. And so sometimes you can run motion and go back where you left, and that helps. Okay, and here's another example. So teams in man-to-man, playoffs this season for us. Teams in man-to-man, first play of the game, we knew they were man-to-man. We're going to run motion, and we're going to come back and run buck sweep. So we run motion against man, and you see the reaction defenses have to do if they're in man, and go with them, or they can spin. So one team went with them, one team spun, doesn't matter to us, same result. Okay, if you decide that's what you want to do, that's how we're going to handle it. We're going to motion and run to it if you don't move, or if you do move, we're going to motion and run right back where you left. Okay, so there's a couple easy reasons to run shifts and motions. Okay, the next thing is tempo, and this applies to really any offense. Tempo for us, we have 3 different types of tempo in our system. I would say the hardest one to practice is the first one I'm going to talk about. We call it NASCAR. That's what Tony Franklin called it, so we just call it that. And our kids kind of knew that when I already came in, so we've just kept it but it could be whatever you want to call it. You do colors, it doesn't matter. Whatever your up tempo is, you have to practice the most because that's the hardest one to run. Okay, if you decide to run up tempo, there are some issues that you got to walk through. And I'm going to go through the issues here on the next slide. But the goal of up tempo is to go as fast as possible. Okay, with our offense, we will run this. We'll run it in situations. Sometimes we'll run it as a switch up in the middle of a drive. A lot of times we'll build in maybe 2 or 3 key plays. Like we know if we gain so many yards, we're going to give the signal word and we're on the ball running whatever our base play we want to run is. But understand if you decide to go up tempo, then you have to limit your verbiage. You got to limit all the shifts and motions and that kind of stuff because you can't go fast and do that. So it just doesn't work. Okay. Our base pace is no huddle where we can go right now or we can freeze them, move around and do something else. But we want to be quick to the ball, but not so much quick to snap it because that allows us to gain information. That's kind of our philosophy, gain information. And then our slow down pace is 4-minute offense. We don't huddle because we just don't practice huddling, but we are slow to get lined up. And then we are moving guys around and we do not want to get into our cadence, shifts, motions, whatever, till about 10 seconds. We don't really want to snap the ball till about 5 seconds. But I've learned if I wait till 5, sometimes that quarterback will wait a little long and now I'm burning a timeout. Nobody wants to do that, okay? Here's a couple of key things to think about as you're calling plays. Number one, you need to match your tempo to your ability level and your philosophy. What I mean by that is this. If you know going into a game, and most coaches are pretty honest, that you're going to have a problem or going into a season that maybe your ability level is not as good as what you're playing, I would highly recommend staying away from fast tempo because all that's going to do is make the game longer. Our philosophy is if we go fast tempo, we get more possessions, but so does the opponent. So understand if your philosophy is low scoring, play defense, ball control, well, that doesn't work with up tempo. Okay. If it's the opposite, you want to score points, you feel you're pretty good, you know, you're okay to give up some more points on defense because they're going to be out there longer, man, go for it. But just make sure it matches. Make sure it matches with the head coach. So if you're not OC, you're not the head coach, make sure that he's okay with understanding there's going to be high scoring games here. Okay. And then you can change the tempo from week to week. But I put on here, I would never play around with fast. You're either going to go fast or you're going to have it as a staple because we have to work that probably more than anything for not as much reward. We need it. I always want to have it. So we always work it, but it's something you can't just decide, hey, we're going to go fast and just throw it in one day. I mean, you probably need your own script of plays and you got to rep that stuff. Okay. Here's the issues you'll face. And you see on there, I put a lot of issues with fast tempo. I'm not saying not to go fast. I'm saying I've done this. So here's things you need to be aware of if you go fast. One, you have to limit formations and movement. Okay, so it needs to be maybe these 3 sets we can get to right now. Okay, you got to limit personnel groupings. Obviously, you can't be running guys in and out of the field if you're up tempo. You got to practice fast all the time. We do 1 period every day of the week where we are up tempo because we want to have it in. If you're going to marry this, you need to do it all the time. And then the last one there, you got to shrink your playbook. That includes tags. That includes any verbiage. You need 1 or 2 word tags and get them going. Okay. Sometimes you can put them on an armband if you want to. Slow tempo teams, the issues they're going to face are what happens when the situations of the game call for that not to work. You're down 2 touchdowns with 5 minutes to go. Okay. Or you have the ball back with 40 seconds. Well, you know, those are going to be a lot of problems for you if you're going to be a slow tempo team. So just kind of be aware how you decide to pick that. Okay. We are multiple, but if we were going to be married to fast tempo, we would practice that all the time. Okay. In my opinion, it's a lot easier to start fast and work slow than try to go the opposite. So try to start fast and then you can get down to, all right, now we're going to go to our base and it'll slow down a little bit for you. Also understand, guys, if you're going slow, fast, whatever it is, sometimes to us, that's just limiting possessions. You know, if we say, all right, defensively, we're going to have a hard time this week. Let's see if we can limit their possessions. So we'll slow it down. All right, in-game adjustments. So in-game adjustments, I think this is probably the last thing I've got, last section I've got on here. You got to have a system to make these adjustments. In my opinion, whatever form of video sideline assist you may have, you need to get that. If you don't live in the state of Texas, I believe it's legal everywhere. It's not cheap, but it's super effective because you literally can go back and look at what's going on. Okay. So even if that is, you know, you're paying your 12-year-old son to go video and get it shot down to you on an iPad, I would do that. That's the best money we've ever spent. Of course, I've got a big staff where we can do things, but even if it was just me, I would still pay this money because I love my assistant coaches, but none of them are as effective as me literally looking at it on an iPad and being able to make adjustments in the middle of a game. It's changed the game completely for us. You also need to assign the eyes of your coaches. You know, where do you want your coaches to look? And on specific plays. And just saying, hey, look at the linebackers. Well, I mean, they're going to give you something, but hey, look, we're about to run a false pull. Look at number 57. Okay. Or we're running a play action, or we're looking at running a play action or an RPO. Tell me what the safety does on play 4. Okay. Very specific plays, very specific people. The more specific you can be, the more information you can gather. And then you need to assign who makes adjustments. Okay. Is that just going to be you? Is that going to be a guy you trust? It needs to be very clear because on a Friday night or Saturday or whenever you're playing your games, it gets intense down there. If you've been in it, you know it. It's very intense. And the last thing you want is somebody not knowing what to do or doing something wrong. So make sure you assign who talks to what player, specifically who talks to your quarterback. Okay, who's that going to be? This year for me, it was not me because I get a little intense on a Friday night. And so it was our quarterback coach, and he would even tell me once, Coach, remember, you're supposed to go away. So that's how we did it because I trusted that guy and I trusted that he would do his job. So assign who talks to who. There's kind of an example. You can see here, right here, you can't see what he's doing, but that's my iPad coach. He's a junior high coach for me, one of my favorite guys on the planet. His job is iPad, and I look over and go, hey, mark that play, mark that play, mark that play. And so he brings it to me because I never leave the sideline, okay? This is our quarterback's coach, okay, and our special teams coordinator. And then you can see right here, this is our running backs coach with our running backs, who he's supposed to talk to, okay? And I've got Coach Gould, who's usually here with me on the headset. He's kind of my right-hand guy who's communicating for me because I can't handle that headset on me. But I want to make sure we are getting the word spread out. If you were to travel farther up the sideline this direction, you would see our TV set up here. And inside of our TV, you would have all of whatever group was off the field. I think at this point, defense is off the field by the TV set up watching the film with the coach we assigned to do that to. And so that's roughly what our sideline kind of looks like. The other part about making in-game adjustments is you need to have tags that go with it. You know, I think one of the biggest things we have done, and I've actually got I'm working on a book that I hope will come out sometime next off season that talks about coaching football similar to how you coach basketball, where you build in tags off of your base plays so that we can run the ball. Like for us, a good example would be we run buck sweep, but we can run it with our quarterback. We can run it with our slot receiver in motion. We can run it with our normal running back. We can tag this RPO with this kid and that RPO with that kid, and it's all built into our system. Another example might be you're running a pass concept, okay, but I want to run it a different look. I want to bring, you know, instead of running, let's say we run snag, I think I've got it drawn up for you guys. We're going to switch the route responsibilities to get a different look, but it's the same play. So our kids understand that because of the matchup we get. Okay, so we give kind of an example of that. This for us, we would call snag switch. Snag, this guy runs the stick, this guy runs the corner. Well, snag switch, and now I have a switched route. Well, if we're getting a team that's going to play man-to-man, man, I love this route against it. Look at all that mesh we're getting off of it. Okay. Or I can even bring that dude in motion and run this same concept. So I want to have these things built in. So when I see a game of, okay, this corner right here, you know, maybe he's super aggressive, and when our guy goes inside, he's ignoring him. Well, now I can go to this route because it matches what we want. And I might not have known that going into the game, but now I can switch it if I need to. Okay. Here's another example. So this, for us, we run the peak concept all the time. Okay. Well, this team, let me go back here. Sorry. This team we're playing, okay, was giving us problems out of our base. We run base, which for us is red, and we ran belly, peak. Well, they picked it because this dude right here was sitting there. I really wanted to throw the peak route, so we went our version of trips, which for us is red lion. So now we're in trips. We're going to run belly here, and now we're going to run B peak. So it's still a peak route. It's the same concept, but B tells him to run the peak. Now this guy has moved in more and we got more space. So I can run the same concept out of a different set and get a different look from the defense, because this guy was being problems for us earlier. Well, when I went trips, you know, he can't get there now. So now I can run the peak concept because that dude is lined up where I want him to line up. And that's just a simple tag for us. We didn't even rep that week. We didn't know we were going to use that, but we had it because we had worked that stuff all off season. And so we knew, okay, let's go to this. Here's another example. This team, this is for the conference championship a couple of years ago. This team was all over number 3. I would be too, because number 3 is a stud for us. So we run jet, jet, jet. Okay. Well, we tag, we're going to run jet F wheel. Okay. Well, that's a tag. That's not a play we have. Okay. But our guys know what a wheel is. Okay. And they know what jet is. And then we just called lasso blocking. So it's a pass block. So we're going to run lasso. We're going to run jet F wheel. Quarterback, you're going to pull it, throw the wheel. These two guys know on jet we come inside, and they know on wheel we can't block because we're throwing it. So they're going to move inside, and we're going to run the wheel out of the backfield. By the way, this is a 4th down play with a minute left to go in the biggest game of the season for us, and we're running a play we've never run before. Never run it, okay? But we had the terms, and we've run F wheel, okay? We've run jet, so we're going to put them together, and look what we get, because the defense was reacting the way they were reacting. So is that a great play call? Well, it is because it worked, okay? But it's something we're building into our system so that we can tag things, all right? It's just something that you give yourself options the more tags that you have. If you can't tag things, you're over there on a whiteboard trying to draw stuff up, or you're banging your head against a wall trying to run whatever it is. But if you have tags, you can quickly move this to this or this to that, and it doesn't change the integrity of your offense. Okay. All right, guys, I'm going to stop the recording right here.